Alright guys, so welcome back to the channel. The plans never fucking work out as intended. So I was gonna do Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, after doing Creepshow 1 and 2, and went to the fair yesterday with my family and my daughter and had a blast with her there, so I don't regret not having a video up yesterday, because as much as I love doing this channel, that trumps anything. And as soon as I got back home and I went to watch Tales from the Dark Side, I had it on pause on HBO Max, hit pause, and the fuckers took it off on the 1st of September yesterday. I was so mad, man. Like I started it like the night before that and got like halfway through the first segment, and then they just took it off September 1st. I was so mad. So now I gotta find it on some other streaming service. So that's still coming. And then, if anyone noticed, there's a new channel banner. It is now Slasher September, so I'm going to be covering a slew of 80s slashers, 70s, and beyond, of just all favorite slasher movies and lesser known ones and all that good stuff. So a lot of cool stuff coming. And so let's talk about 1987's Opera by Argento. Now in my Suspiria video and my video for Tenebrae, I made statements that I think Argento's best film is Suspiria, but my favorite film by him is Tenebrae. Opera has always been right under Tenebrae, like really, really close. After this rewatch, I don't know, man. Like, I think, like, they're tied now. Like, I don't think I can put one above the other. Like, they're so different in the way that Argento approached making these two films. But just, I said, like, in for Tenebrae, that I think it's his most focused film. This movie, though, just the camera work in this movie is one of the biggest things for me. Like, the camera work is just masterful in this. I mean, obviously, not like it's not in, like, any other Argento movie. Like, I mean, especially, like, you know, from his 70s and 80s films and stuff. It's always masterful. But just, this film has some of my favorite shots in an Argento film. Like, some of my favorite sequences, some of my favorite camera work. Like, all of that is just so fucking amazingly done in this movie. And I always say that it's strange because this revolves so much around Macbeth and, you know, an opera. It's just the fucking name of the movie. I am not an opera person. Like I said this on the channel once, that I'm not a play person. Like, I'm not an opera person either. Like, you would have to cattle prod me, to shock the shit out of me to get me into an opera. Like, I'm just not interested at all. But the way that this film is just handled, and that the way it all plays out, like, it's still beautiful. Like, I absolutely can respect the music in this movie. Like, that's another thing with the score in this movie. Like, I can't put this film score like too high on my list of Argento scores, because it just doesn't do it for me like most other of his scores. Like, especially like Deep Red, Suspiria, Inferno, even Phenomena, just for having Iron Maiden in there, which, you know, I got in a huge, back into a huge Iron Maiden kick now, ever since rewatching Phenomena. So like the last week or so, I've been in a huge Iron Maiden kick again. It happens every few years, just like with most people, most of you guys probably, if you're music fans and stuff, you'll go through phases of re-listening to a favorite band for a month or two, and then go back and listen to another band and rinse, cycle, repeat. But I've been in a huge Maiden kick, and he does the same thing here. Like, he has metal music again being played during a lot of the more tense scenes and the killing scenes, and it's such a great counterpoint to the opera music. Like, the juxtaposition between the opera music and stuff in this movie and the heavy metal is just so well done. It works so well. Like, just the contrast of just the beautifulness, new word, of the opera and the metal intense music for the killings and everything. It works so well. Like, he did such a good job with that. And the opening shot of this movie, just like from the opening shot with the ravens, the close up on the raven's eye with the reflection of the theater in it. Dude, that theater is so fucking beautiful. Like, what a fucking unreal looking theater. And like I've said in so many of these videos for Argento, he is just one lucky fucking man. With the way that he just gets so lucky, with the way that he has an eye to choose out filming locations and the sets that they build and stuff, but like just the way that he finds like real locations to shoot at, like this theater and everything. The luckiest man in the world. Like, just everywhere he shoots has just the most beautiful architecture, the most beautiful patterns, like either whether it's wallpaper, carpeting, or all of that. Like, it's just unreal how this guy just gets so lucky every single movie that he makes with just all the locations and the sets and stuff, and unbelievable. And I even like the POV shot from, what's her name, Mara, the lead who gets hit by the car, and that's how Betty gets the lead in the play or the opera. Whatever, it's the same shit to me. But the point of view shots from her when she's like getting pissed off about the ravens and she's walking out and like the people are like trying to talk to her and stuff, and it's just from her point of view looking back talking to them. No reason for that to be there. But it's such a clever little thing thrown in there, like just having a POV shot from her perspective, this ancillary character we're never going to see again. Like, like most films that would have that in there, I would just look at it like, yeah, that's completely unnecessary. But like for this movie, like and Argento, it's a lovely little clever thing thrown in. Just to have a POV shot from some character that we're never going to see again, who's only in the first 10 minutes of this movie. Like, really, really cool. And then she's hit by a car, and then... and they're so nonchalant about it, too. Like, they're just like, everyone's like, jumping for joy, man. Like, for Betty and stuff. When they all show up at her place and say, like, you got the role, and stuff. Like, there's an accident with Mara, and like... It's like they don't give a shit at all. It's like, well, what happened? Well, she got hit by a car. Like, are you excited? Like, I mean, they're not like that jumping out of the cake happy, but like, they're pretty fucking like nonchalant about it. Like, absolutely. Like, not as much as a reaction if this is like a renowned opera singer and stuff and she got hit by a car. Like, they don't give the reaction that you would expect from them, like, at all. And the whole thing with like Macbeth bringing bad luck, I've heard that over the years, despite not being into operas at all, but I would love if there was like an opposite version of that, like some opera that brings great luck and just like being there. Like, that's one you wouldn't have to cattle prod me to get me into. Like, I would voluntarily walk in if I heard that, like, yeah, we just put on our production of whatever the name of the opera is, and 30 people walked out, and that night they all hit the Mega Millions. Like, oh yeah? All right, I'll be there tomorrow night. Like, I will absolutely voluntarily walk into that play. Like, see, I'm gonna keep calling it a play or an opera, because to me, I don't care about either, so it's interchangeable for me. But like, absolutely. If there was like a luck-bringing opera, I'd be there. Who knows? It might actually turn out to be true. And I like having, no, let me do that. Betty, just her whole character, is my favorite lead girl in an Argento film. Like, 100%. Like, I mean, Susie is amazing, comes close in Suspiria, but something about Betty in this movie, like, she is so sexy. She is just such a gorgeous woman, and just her personality is, like, infectious. Like, every time I see her on screen, which is the majority of this movie, I love watching her in this movie. Like, just the way she acts, like, she's such a good actress. I forget the actress's name, but she really holds this movie together. Like, she's the glue for this movie. Like, she does such a good job in this role, and I love seeing her on screen every single time I rewatch this. And I like the little, like, foreshadowing shot when she's in her apartment, and you can see the shadow in the air vent of the little girl who helps her later. Like, that's cool. Like, I didn't even notice that until this rewatch. Like, I never noticed the girl's little shadow in the air vent there. And I said, oh shit, like they actually foreshadow that a little bit. Thought that was really cool. And has my favorite Daria Nickelodeon character in this. Like, I just love her in this as Betty's best friend and everything. And her death scene, man, is just, that is fucking amazing. I'll get to that. But, and then we have Santini, the inspector, who turns out being the killer. And I like how he introduces himself to Betty and says that he's a huge fan and like wants her autograph and stuff. And just the way he infiltrates himself into her life slowly is like really cool. He's one of my favorite killers too in an Argento film. Like, this film has a lot of my favorites when it comes to Argento. Like, absolutely. Like, when I was saying with her being my favorite lead and stuff in an Argento film, like, the only one who rivals that really is Sam Neill from Tenebrae. So if we're just talking lead females, it's Betty, absolutely. But if we're talking just leads in general, I don't know. It's tied between Neil and Betty. But both of them are just excellent, excellent characters. And then we get the flashbacks of Betty's mother being killed, which I love that whole backstory too, and the whole motive for the killer. Like, everything in this movie, man, is fucking just so good. Like, I love this movie so much. And like I said, like, that's why after this rewatch, I was like, damn, man, I don't know. I was looking back and thinking, I was like really thinking hard and comparing Tenebrae and this in my head. And I was like, I don't know if I can pick a top one now. Like, Tenebrae always was my favorite by like a little bit above Opera. But I don't know, man. I don't think I can put one above the other. Like, I was thinking I might do like a top 10 my favorite Argento films to close out all of this, like when I'm done with it. But I don't know. I think it might be a tie for number one. Like, I'll be interested to see. Like, I have time to think before that happens, because we still got Trauma I want to do, Mother of Tears, and then I'm going to move on to Demons 2, and The Church, and the Suspiria remake, which all not directed by Argento, obviously, but he co-wrote the screenplay for those first 3 movies and the remake of Suspiria, so those will come probably next week, but definitely want to do those too. And that is one cool knife that the killer has in this movie. I don't know what it is, just like with houses that I always have to point out if I love a house in a movie, or if it's a gorgeous house, or if it's a eerie as fuck house. Always got to point it out. Same with knives. If I see a really cool fucking knife in a movie, got to bring it up. And here's one right here. That is one awesome looking knife that fucking Santini uses. Really, really cool. The whole scene with the ravens, when Santini comes in and he's cutting up her dress, which is a gorgeous dress, by the way, and cutting the dress up and then kills some of the ravens, just the whole way that scene is shot is amazing. Like, every fucking shot in that scene, I absolutely adore. Just the way that he shoots the ravens moving around, and like them making their, I can't even think of like the cawing, I guess, but that's more like a crow. We'll go with cawing, fucking with them like cawing and stuff and just making noise and flapping around, and just the shots of them, like every single shot is important in that scene. Like, every shot has meaning. Like, and if you want to argue and say that they're just ravens, fucking, like, what does it matter? And it matters. Like, just the way that he shoots every single fucking frame of that scene is so well done. Like, it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Like, when it comes to the directing and the camera work and everything, absolutely. Like, it is so well done. It looks so good. It was edited amazingly. Like, just everything about that scene I love it to death. And the whole scene with Betty and her boyfriend, like, is fucking brutal, man. And that's another thing. The whole premise of this movie, and the whole idea of having someone tied up and gagged and duct taped over their mouth with rows of needles taped under their eyes so they can't blink or has to watch all these people that they know get murdered right in front of them is such a great fucking idea for a movie, man. Like, that is such a fucking brilliant premise. Like, and I say all the time on here, like, with ideas and premises in movies, like, I don't know if it's ever been done before. Like, if anyone has ever seen another movie that has that in it, that has needles being taped or something under somebody's eyes so it forces them to watch, let me know in the comments, because I can't think of one. I can't think of a single movie. And of all the movies, the horror movies I've seen in my life, I don't know if that premise has been used before. But it could have, like I say, with any premise. So, I mean, if anyone has seen another movie with that exact type of, like, idea in it, with the needles under the eyes, let me know, because I would definitely like to check that out. Even though I'm sure it's going to pale to the way it's implemented here in Opera. But I love that entire premise for this movie. For the killers and the killer's motive, like I said, everything is just so good with the concept of this movie. And just with when she gets tied up here and stuff, and then just the boyfriend comes back in and she's trying to scream through the tape, and like he comes up and then the knife just gets jabbed right through his fucking throat, and we get the shot of inside his mouth with the tip of the knife inside, and then he just gets brutally stabbed to death, and he's putting his hands up trying to defend himself, and he's getting stabbed through the hands, and just, dude, it's brutal. Like, that is a fucking brutal death scene. That is, the gore is amazing in that. Like, the knife through the neck into the mouth looks fucking fantastic. It looks so good. Like, the gore in this movie, too, is, like, fucking amazing, as usual, from, like, Deep Red on. Like, amazing. Like, it's such a great job. And then, let's see here. And then apparently the director, Marco, jerks off before he films a scene in his movies. Like, I love his character too. Like, I think Marco is a very interesting character in this movie. I don't know if he was joking about jerking off before filming a scene, like to bring levity to their whole exchange about her talking about, like, that she heard the story already from that night when her boyfriend was saying about opera singers, that they're known for making love before they go out for a show to improve their voice. So I don't know if he just threw that line in about him jerking off before filming a scene to, like, bring some levity to the situation and, like, try to cheer her up a little bit, make her laugh, something like that, or if he was really being serious. I wouldn't put it past him that he actually might do that. Like, I don't know, something about his character. And like I said, I love his character. I think he's very interesting watching on screen. But I wouldn't put it past him. But at the same time, like I said, like, I can absolutely see him just saying that just to try to calm her down and to bring levity to the situation. Like, so it can go either way with him. Like, he's a very, very intriguing character. And just, I love the use of the peephole in this movie. Like, we see that a few times, like with Betty looking through the peephole and seeing the neighbor when she's there with Marco after she tells him what happened, and she sees the female neighbor with the guy there, and she's looking through, and like, she's so paranoid at this point that she's just like, who are you? And she's like, it's your neighbor. And then, like, after they leave and stuff, she asks Marco, who do you think that was? He's like, probably your neighbor, like she said. Like, she's like, just showing how paranoid she is, man. Like, she is fucking terrified. And, like, who wouldn't be after going just through that first kill alone of being tied up with the needles under your eyes and all that shit. But this happens to her a few times in this movie. So, like, just the first time, though, of that happening, I can't imagine the mind state you would be in. Then we have the costume designer scene, which is, like, every scene in this movie, man, is fucking fantastic. With the costume designer finding the gold bracelet on the ripped up dress, and her trying to fix the dress, and then just the shot of Betty in the room with the heartbeat sound, and it starts beating a little faster, then the camera starts shaking a little bit every time the heart beats. I fucking love those shots. Like, I absolutely adore those shots. They look so good. Like, I don't know, it's something about it. The way that the heartbeat is beating and the camera just slightly violently shaking real fast to each beat. It looks so fucking cool. I love that stuff. Then Betty in the glass showcase, and like that little showcase box, whatever that he ties her up in, and just the shot from farther away of her in there tied up with the tape on her mouth and the needles right below her eyes and the rope around her forehead. One of my favorite shots in an Argento film. Like, absolutely. Like, that'll probably be the thumbnail for this. Like absolutely love how that looks. And then brutal too with this, man. Even though we don't see like the most brutal part, but like the costume designer getting hit with the iron and her falling to the ground and then throwing the necklace, and then she gets it back and she swallows it, and he stabs her right in the chest with the scissors. And then the way that he puts the scissors in her mouth and is like prying around like in her mouth and everything trying to get the necklace, and then he just says like fuck it, and he just stabs in the throat again, starts cutting her throat open, and then pulls the necklace out. And so that is some fucking I don't know, man, that's some evil shit. Like, that is some visceral stuff there. And like, we don't see her getting, him cutting her throat open, but like, it's in your head. Like, you hear it, so, and it's so heavily implied. It just makes your imagination go there, and it works so well. Like, that's one instance that he did not need to film that. He didn't need to have gore there for that. Like, just the implication is fucking scary enough. Imagine that. Like, not even just like you're already dying, but having your throat cut open with scissors just for this guy to retrieve this gold fucking bracelet. Like, I don't know, man. That's fucking terrifying. And then, like, Betty's scream when she's trying to scream through the tape, and they fast zoom in on it. And, like, he does that, he uses that trick a lot in this movie. Like, the really fast zoom in shots, and they're awesome. Like, dude, I can't say enough about the camera work in this movie, like, and the directing in this, and the editing. Like, it's absolutely phenomenal. Then having Michael Suave in this, I think that's how you say his name. I never fucking remember how to say his name, but he's worked with Argento for years, and then went on to do The Church and everything. And the fact of them having the whole little clever idea of when Dario Argento's character shows up and having the inspector in the apartment, but then her saying that she saw the inspector downstairs, and then not knowing which one is the killer and which one is the actual cop. Really, really clever. Like, just, are they in that immediate danger that he's in the apartment there? Or are they semi-safe because he was the one down in the lobby or whatever? And then we find out that it was the actual cop in there and he gets killed. But just the whole fucking shot, man, of Dario Argento. Like, well, first I love in the when they're in the kitchen and she grabs the knife and they're like talking in the kitchen and talking real quietly and everything. The lighting, man, of the green lighting that keeps flashing on and off, awesome. Like, that looks so good. Like, real like callback to like Inferno and Suspiria type lighting. Like I said with the films after that, how we kind of scaled it back a bit with the colors and everything. But just that one scene alone with that gorgeous green lighting coming on and off looks so good. And just the way that it does that it comes on and comes off, and it's green and then not, and green and then not. He could have made the whole scene with just green lighting. But just the fact that he has it flash on and off like that, awesome. Like, it looks so cool. And then we get another one of my favorite shots in an Argento film. When she's looking through the peephole, Daria, and she gets shot through the peephole. And just the shot of the bullet coming through the peephole into her fucking head, into her eye, and the slow motion of her falling backwards. Fucking unreal. Like, phenomenal. Like, that is such a great shot, especially with the bullet going through the peephole. Like, I don't know how he did that. Like, I'm very interested to see how he did that. Like, I gotta read up how he got that shot because it looks so fucking good. Like, that is so clever. Like, are you serious? Like, any other movie or like any other director shooting a scene like that, you would just hear the gun go off and the fucking person fall back, or you'd see their fucking eye missing or a hole in their head where the eye was or something. No one else would think to fucking track the bullet through the peephole before it hits her in the eye. Like, dude, it's amazing the ideas that this man has in his head. Like, absolutely amazing. Then the fucking shot of the pillow. Like when she's thinking of escaping through the window, and she throws the pillow down there, and it basically explodes like when it hits the ground, and the feathers are flying all over the place. And while she has the tape playing of like you're starting to feel very calm, and like the all of that, like it's so good. Like that just this. Even that Argento can make feathers coming out of a pillow and flying around, like being blown around by wind, look amazing. It's just like stupidly insane. Like this guy can make anything look amazing. Like the way that he shoots stuff, like anything. And the girl, we see the little girl come through and helps Betty through the air vent and gets her back to the girl's apartment. Saved her life, man. That's one helpful and smart little girl there. And then the whole scene with the show, like when they're trying to flush the killer out, and that's a great idea too. A great idea to out the killer in this by using the ravens, because we have the line from the guy who, I guess they're his ravens or he trains them or something like that, but he has the line that they don't forget, that they remember for years and stuff, certain things. And he was thinking that Mara, the one who gets hit by the car at the beginning, is the one who killed the ravens and everything. But just that whole clever idea too thrown in there of just that ravens will remember things, and that them using the ravens to flush out Satini. Brilliant. Like so fucking good, man. And the whole, just again with the theater and the way it looks and just the crowd, and just then when they release the ravens and we have the literal fucking bird's eye view, like like the point of view shots from the raven flying around, and just like people ducking as it's flying over their heads. And I mean, that's some of the best camera work in an Argento film, in a film. Like, that's some of my favorite camera work. That scene right there, just how the camera's flying like the bird, and it's panning through all the audience, and they're all ducking around. That had to be such a hard tracking shot to get, man. Like, that really had to be hard to get. And it looks absolutely amazing. Like, an amazing shot. And then that outs Satini is the killer, and he gets his fucking eye eaten right out of his head, pecked out of his head, and you see the fucking raven on the ground and picks the eye up and then just like holds it in his mouth for a few seconds and then just fucking eats and swallows it. Like, so good, and that's like probably the most Fulci that Argento's been in a film, is like with that eye gag that we know Fulci loves so fucking much. Like, awesome stuff. And then when Satini's walking around and he's walking around and like carrying on pretty fucking well for somebody who just got his eye eaten out of his head. Like, he's like not in that much pain. Like, he's walking around like he's fine, basically. Like, he just got a little cut or something. Like, you got your eye ripped out of your face, like, and eaten by a bird. Like, and like he's like never holding his eye, like he's not like in excruciating pain or nothing. Like, you know how much pain that would be to be missing a fucking eyeball? Like, this guy carries on like the fucking Terminator or something, man. Like, he shakes that shit off pretty well. And then we find out the whole reason that he's the killer and trying to kill Betty and making her watch is that Betty's mom was, and I love this whole motive, like I said, of just, and the whole backstory on the mother, that the mother was this like sadistic woman too, and that she was having Satini murder for her. and then he just liked killing. And then then her demands to kill, like for him to kill for her, got way too out of hand, and he ended up killing her. And then just upon seeing Betty grown up, that rekindled his obsession and restarted his bloodlust. And just an amazing motive, man. Like, it's so well done. And like, I didn't see that coming either. The very first time I saw this movie, just like with Tenebrae, I didn't see Sam Neill as the killer. I didn't see that reveal coming, and it's such a good reveal. Same with this. I didn't see the cop as the killer. Like, I had a little bit of suspicions. Like, they throw, if you on rewatches, there's a little bit more of hints towards the cop than like towards Neill and Tenebrae. I think it's a little bit easier to pick out little clues and hints here and there that it's the cop. But I didn't see that reveal coming on my first rewatch, and I'm usually very good with reveals and twists and stuff like that. Then he sets the room on fire and fakes his death, apparently, with the clothed mannequin and everything. Clever. Like, it's been a few years since I've seen this, so I was during that scene when he was like lighting the place, putting the gasoline everywhere, then has Betty shoot him like through the blindfold, and like he's directing. That's another thing, directing her with the gun, like nope, a little to the left, like nope, too far, go back, and awesome. Like, that's so cool. But I was thinking, I was like, I know he fakes his death, and I forgot about the mannequin thing, but I was like, where did he have that mannequin in that room? Like, they show a lot of that room, because they show him walking around with the gasoline, like throwing it on everything. I didn't see any mannequin. So I don't know where he had that stashed, or how he knew that they would end up in that room, or anything like that. But, well, he does kind of lead her there, so I guess that makes sense. But no idea where that mannequin was. But good idea for faking his death like that. And I love how they pay attention to the key. Like, I love that they address that. Like, that's another thing. Most movies and stuff like, the key was in the fire. Most movies would just gloss right over that continuity. They would just like have the person pick up the key and open the door. And not in this. Like, they actually address that. But she goes to pick it up and touches it, and it's hot, and she moves her hand away. And then she has to rip part of her shirt off and stuff to pick the key up. Just that little detail, man, I fucking love it. Like, you guys know how I am with continuity and just like things making sense. Just the fact that they address that is awesome. And then Marco and Betty go to Switzerland because they think that Santini's dead. Then Marco sees the news and about the fake death with the mannequin and everything, and then he finds the maid or whoever she is dead on the floor, and he's screaming out to Betty that he's alive and that he's here and run and all that. And then Marco gets stabbed to death, which sucks. I really like his character, like I said. And then her like trying to get into his head and into Santini's head, saying that like, I am like my mother. I realize that now, and all of that, just to get him distracted and like down that train of thought, and then smashes the rock on his head. And then like when the cops show up and everything and taking them away, and she's saying like, I'm nothing like my mother, like I never will be, and everything. It's awesome stuff, man. And then this is like the only Argento film I can think of where the killer doesn't get killed, that he gets arrested. Am I thinking not fully on that? Because we have Bird with Crystal Plumage. She dies. Cat of Nine Tails falls down the elevator shaft. Oh shit, I still got to do Four Flies in Grey Velvet too, because I had to skip over that because I couldn't find it. So that one's coming too. I forget. That's my one of my least watched of his 70s and 80s classic period of films. But pretty sure the killer is killed in that too, if I'm remembering correctly. And then Deep Red, same thing. Suspiria, the Coven's killed at the end. Mater Tenebrarum's killed in Inferno. Neil's killed in Tenebrae. The killer is killed by Inga the Chimp, who I fucking love, at the end of Phenomena. So yeah, I think this is the only film except maybe in like his later movies that I really don't care for much, aside from the few that I mentioned that I'm going to do. That's interesting to me, that he did in this movie, that this killer does not get killed, like in every single one of Argento's other films. Very interesting choice to have him just get arrested. I don't know. That was a unique choice for him. Like, maybe it was just him wanting to do something different, and maybe he thought of the same shit. Maybe he was like, I kill my killers in every movie. Like, maybe let's let this one live. Let's just have him get arrested. Like, let's change it up a little bit. Who knows? Maybe that's what he did. But that's Opera. God, I love this fucking movie, man. Like, I really do. Like, this would definitely make, especially with Tenebrae and Suspiria, all three would make like my top 30 films of all time. Like horror films. Not even, probably just film in general. Like I said, I love all film, but horror is my fucking thing. So like most times if I say like it's in the top horror movies for me or something like that, like that means like movies in general. Like because horror is what I love. There's some other, like if I had to put together a list of like my 50 favorite films of all time, probably 75% would be horror movies. Like absolutely. I can think there definitely would be near the top other movies that aren't horror, like for sure, but the majority would absolutely be horror movies. And Tenebrae, Suspiria, and Opera would probably most likely be in the top 25, like for sure. But what a great movie. And it sucks, man, that this is like the end of his golden period. Like I said, Trauma I highly enjoy, so I'm going to do that, and maybe Two Evil Eyes, like since it's half Romero, half Argento. But then I did Creepshow and stuff, and that's Romero, so we can have like some Romero close together. So maybe Two Evil Eyes is up in the air. But Trauma and Mother of Tears, just to cover that one, which I do actually like Mother of Tears. And just to close out like, the whole Three Mothers trilogy. But sucks that this is his last excellent film, in my opinion. Like this is the last like phenomenal film from Argento. Like Trauma's great, but it's not an excellent film. But hey, man, after a stretch from 1971, was it 71 or 70? Bird with Crystal Moon, I forget now. From the 70s straight through the 80s to the end of the 80s to this movie. What a stretch of films. Like, what an amazing stretch of movies. Especially from Deep Red, Suspiria, Inferno, Tenebrae, Phenomena, Opera. I don't think I can think of another director with a stretch of excellent films with that many films in succession. I don't think I can. Like, I think that he might be the one. He might be the only director with, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 movies consecutively that are all excellent. I don't think I can think of another director. I'd have to really rack my brain. But all right, guys, that's Opera. Said that 3 times already, but keep on fucking yapping. So, got my favorite, not my favorite, but my second favorite film of all time coming up right next. That started me down this whole rabbit hole of horror from a 5-6-year-old child. So that's coming next, and then Found Footage Friday tonight, and finishing the Friday the 13th, the last 3 movies, and Tales from the Dark Side and stuff will come this weekend, and then I'll figure out the rest of next week and have a plan again that won't be adhered to at all, like usual. But all right, guys, I'll see you in a little bit. Take care.